All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I wanted to do an update for one of my older videos on gear progression. So as we all know, Sovereign weapons have been out for a while, and we have the upcoming Karazad accessories coming soon. But I wanted to go over everything from beginner all the way to endgame and talk about it from like a new player perspective and how I would go about upgrading gear if I was a new player. So yeah, one thing I will start at is, let's say you are already full pen seasonal, and that's because like you just play through seasons if you're a beginner and then get full pen Tuvala from there, and then we'll go from gear progression and what you guys should do, important things you could do to raise your AP and whatnot. So with that said, one of my recent seasonal characters was this. And basically, this is what your gear should look like as a beginner, and this is at the end of seasonal. So basically, full pen Tuvala, and full pen weapons and everything. And so, going forward from that, people get confused because it's like, oh, I graduated seasons. What do I do now? So first of all, when you graduate seasons, you get the option to convert one of your pieces of gear. So the first time you do this, you'll be able to convert all your Tuvala to all the bosses of all gear pieces, but those aren't enhanceable to the pen. You just get them at TET. So like, assuming you get TET or a pen Tuvala, you could exchange that for a TET piece of gear. Your first time you ever do it, you can do it with all of the weapons and stuff. The second season and going forward, you can only pick one piece of gear. So people have always came up to me and was like, oh, I can't enhance it. And then the answer really is because this is your second time where like when you converted all of your things, it's stuck at TET until going forward. So anyway, with that said, this is what your gear is going to look like. Don't worry about artifacts and all that stuff yet. I'll talk about that in this video a little bit later. So things you should do while you're on seasons is adventure journals, and I guess the Magnus, and just the old moon stuff. And the reason why we talk about that is there are ways to get more AP, and let me show you. So this character is like 249, 317 right now, and this is basically seasonal gear. And there's no time limit to do seasons nowadays, so it's like you just go at your own pace. And one thing I've always told people is, I understand if you're competitive and you want to keep up with your friends, like, oh, who could get the best gear and everything. BDO is not really that game. If you're trying to compete with your friends and all it takes is one person to get lucky, and you are suddenly weeks, months, and stuff behind. So anyway, just play at your own pace. Adventure journals. How do you find them? They are like these things. And basically you just do all of them. I think you should probably just look up a guide because all of them give you different stats and resources or attributes. And so by doing this, you could click this little button over here and it'll tell you what kind of stats that you get permanently on your account. So it doesn't matter if you do this on your main character or this is your first time. These stats will carry over to all of your characters on the same account. So that's why for me, I have a +9 AP, +9 DP, and a lot of other extra stats that go along with it. And so, like, for example, the most important one is the AP. More damage means you clear faster, you do things faster. DP, HP, survivability, and more stats is always good. So this +9 goes over to my seasonal one. So, like, most people would be at, like, 240, maybe a little bit less. And then like less than 310, but like it's basically rewarding you for actually playing the game, and going forward with your seasons you'll have more stats than someone else. So with that said, once you're looking to upgrade past Tuvala, do I have another character with all boss gear? I don't actually know. I probably do, but let me see. This is probably the closest I'll get. So anyway, Your gear you'll get is like boss gear that you convert past Tuvala. And things you should do to progress further. The one is doing the Magnus questline. And the way you find it and how you do it is, I think it is... where is it? Where would it be? The Abyss 1, the Magnus. This is a 117 quest line, which, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but realistically, you can do it in like a day if you have enough time. I think it's probably around 5 hours if you skip all the cutscenes, and maybe like less than 10 if you actually enjoy the story and read through everything. So yeah, you kind of want to do this because at the end of the quest line, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but at the end of it, you get a reward that rewards you with a free piece of pen gear. So not like the Fallen God, but the piece of gear that you'll find somewhere else. Like boss gear, that is. Like some of this, but in pen. So essentially that saves you about like 10 to 15 billion silver by just doing that 100 something quest chain. That's always good. And then there's always the Old Moon support thing where you can craft one of the 3 accessories. And even if you pick the wrong one, well, actually there's no right or wrong. That's kind of like what you need at the time. So let's say you get the Crescent now, but you feel like you want the Narc earring later on, you could always swap them. So basically the way you do this is hit your inventory button, click this little button over here. I don't know if it's the same on console or not. And then basically you get all these materials and you just click the button, and then that's how you get it. I have a video teaching you how to get all these materials, and so I'll leave a link in the description to that if you're interested in how to go about doing it. But overall, pretty straightforward. All of these, except for the Jonlaw fragments, can be bought off the market, and you can melt down yellow accessories to get the Jonlaw fragments, and then you get the base one and convert it every time. So yeah, I would say this one is bought from the vendor. You can buy this off the central market. You buy the... what are these called again? Sealed black magic crystals, and then heat them up, and then you get the magical shards. So these are very cheap nowadays, and so easy to do. And then Jonlaw's are the ones you just melt down. So yeah, that's how you get the free accessory. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is you get to level 61 or 60. I think there's 2 different ones. And you can get a free pen Blackstar and a free TET Blackstar. So the question for a lot of people is, which one should I get? And the answer, in my opinion, is realistically, you should probably get your main hand pen Blackstar first. And then the TET Blackstar is your awakening. Simply because it just gives you a lot of extra accuracy. So let me look at this for you guys. It doesn't matter what class it is, to be honest. So if we look at this one, and you look at the difference between TET and pen. So just keep this in mind. Pen Blackstar, 212 accuracy. And that's a lot. Now if we look at the awakening weapon, even at pen, it's 12 accuracy. Now, if you only plan on PvEing, you don't care about PvP at all, it might change a little bit, because obviously if you're playing Awakening, then you want more damage there. However, if you are planning on doing any sort of PvP, accuracy, believe it or not, is important. So yeah, for most people who plan on just experiencing everything in the game, I would recommend going for the main hand first. So there's also another question that I've been getting, which is, it's more of like an advanced thing. So let's say someone already has a pen Blackstar, and then they're like, should I go for a second pen Blackstar of the same one to convert to Sovereign? Or should I get like the second one for like off or a hand or awakening? And you should always go full pen Blackstars before converting to Sovereign, because that is the end game upgrade, and it's like very expensive to upgrade. So you want to make sure all of your gear is like as high as you can before converting to the upper tiers of it, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, In terms of the TET-PEN Blackstars, that's what I would do every time, even if I made a new account. That's what I would do. Next thing I want to talk about is upgrading into Fallen God, and I'm looking at notes, by the way. Fallen God armors and Alch stones and artifacts. So a lot of people struggle on what to upgrade next, and usually when you're upgrading tiers of accessories or like your Vel's Heart, usually these give about 3 AP. So whichever item gives you 3 AP for the least amount of silver, you want to do that first because obviously cost effective. And I think that's overall what you should look at. I don't know about on all the servers, but ever since like a couple of months ago when they kind of nuked the prices and changed the whole PvP thing, prices tanked a little bit. So get whatever gives you the most AP or DP for the least amount of silver. And in terms of the Vel's Heart, whenever you get enough silver, I would just put an order on that as soon as possible. Oh, there's actually one sitting. That's rare. But yeah, so chances are what you're going to do is buy the concentrated magic and then get the items to make the Vel's Heart. And that's how you're going to get yours, because putting an order on for one of these kind of scuffed. Otherwise, you can just buy one, and then the materials you need to make it is 150 or 1500 alchemy stone shards. I don't even know how much. Let me just look at it. So you need 1500 of these, and it's like $1.5 billion. Yeah, you're paying a little bit more to have it, but you're getting it like now instead of later, which I think it is always worth it. So with that said, we talked about that and how to go about weapon upgrades, and I don't know the prices of accessories on all your servers, but yeah, whichever one gives you the most AP for the least amount of silver. But you're probably going to want to look at Deboreka necklace first, because that's +5 instead of +3. So now you're probably thinking, okay, so I need to get more DP to grind to higher areas. How do I go about doing this? So the way it works is, you know how we talked about boss gear, and dude, I need to figure out what character that was and go to that every time. Was it on the... I don't know. Hold on. Okay, let's just look at this one. So, pretend these are pen, right? And once you get it to pen, like all these boss gear pieces, you want to get them to Capra 10, and you use that by Capra stoning everything. You could buy it from the market, you can grind for it, do whatever. And these upgrade into Fallen God armors. And what you're going to want to do after that is you have to grind different spots to get an item called a Flame of one of the 4 things. The Flame of Despair, Frost, Resonance, and Flame of Haunting. So, in my opinion, the easiest one to go for is the gloves, which is the Dawn gloves. However, that requires you to do like a 300, 400 questline chain in the Land of the Morning Light. So it's a lot of questing, but in terms of easy to get and the least amount of silver spent and or time, this is probably the easiest one to go for. Otherwise, if you can buy a flame off the market, it doesn't matter which order you go for. The only thing I would say is if you are grinding it out yourself, going for Deboreka is probably like a 270 AP, because you have to grind Jade Starlight Forest, and the grind spot where you get the embers and flames, that's mostly where you're getting it from. The armor is from Turos, which I believe is a duo grind spot or a group one. So finding another person to grind with is kind of the problem, but you know, it's like not a high requirement. It's probably like 260, 280 AP. Dawn gloves is literally questing, and then you're good to go. And Ator shoes is admittedly more for the end game side, 300 plus AP. And if you could buy the flame, then I would recommend doing that first. But either way, I say this, but it's not as easy as it sounds because you actually have to go grind for it. So in terms of gear progression, gloves, followed by armor and helmet, and then do the Ator shoes last, simply because it's the hardest one. So yeah. And then accessories, we just talked about that. Going from like your seasonal to any other upgrades. If you were to ask me this 6 months ago or a year ago, I would have told you that getting like an ogre ring is fine, Bassi belt, but right now, getting a Deboreka ring is probably the best choice, simply because that's just the most AP, and it turns into the Karazad in the future, which will be the new best in slot. So it's not worth going for random accessories temporarily that you're going to have to either sell back or it's just kind of like a dead end upgrade. You might as well get something that you can convert into something going forward. So that's always good. And then, yeah, so that's weapons done, accessories, and armors. I have a video basically talking about how to self-enhance your gear. So I'll just go over that really quickly as well. And let's just look at it. It doesn't matter what piece of Fallen God you're going to look at. But if you are self-enhancing from base to pry, I would start at like an 80 stack, go up to like 110. Pry to duo, 110 to like 150. 150 is kind of high, but I mean, if you want to, you could. Duo to try, I would probably start at like a 150 and then go up to like a 200-ish. And then try to TET, you basically use a higher stack. I personally used 245 on 3 of them and then 270 on the 4th one because it just wouldn't go. But like roughly around 240, 260 is a good place to go. And pen is basically unobtainable because it's like the rates are so low that consider whaling or TET the point where everyone stops. Maybe it'll add something in the future, who knows, but until then, TET is basically what you want to go for at long term. So now that we talked about that, I know I talked about all of this in like 15 minutes, and obviously it takes literal months to do this. So assuming you are close to where I am in terms of gear, pretend these sovereign weapons are Blackstar. And at this point, you should be at least TET Deboreka and full pen Blackstar. What is your next upgrade? So people have always asked, which one should I go for? And this is where it does matter a little bit. So by this point, assuming you are over 700 gear score, you kind of have an idea of which spec you like. Do you like Awakening or do you like Succession more? And obviously, one could be better for PvP, one is better for PvE and all that stuff, so you can switch back and forth. But I would say the one that you play on the most is the one you should get first. And that's when you would start going for a second pen Blackstar or grinding out the flame or whatever to upgrade to Sovereign. And I think that's a good idea because this allows you to push your damage even further. And from Blackstar to Sovereign, there's 10 scales. So you know how it's Pride Duo, Tri TET-PEN. Now it goes up to like 6 to 10, Hex to Deck. And it's a huge silver sink. Trust me when I say that. Like, it took so much silver to get it to Hex, and it was not fun. But either way, your goal is to go for Sovereign. I think most people should go one at a time. I was personally a little bit ahead of the curve at the time, and so I was able to make both of them on day one. Whereas if you only have enough for one of them, it's probably better to just leave one at, you know, like Blackstar, and then make one at a time instead of 2 of them. So get the one that you play the spec the most. In my case, it was, well, I guess I play Awakening more, but I had room for both of them. And the reason why we do one at a time is because you can get Reforge Crystals as well as upgrading. And what those do is, you see down here in the blue text under the yellow, you could add 5 Reforge Crystals per weapon. And that allows you to do a lot of extra damage or survivability, however you like to build. So we like to look at this under enhancements. You go to Reforge and just buy the crystals that you want. I made a video talking about what I had and why I chose mine. But for the most part, how do you know which ones are the good ones? More damage, always good. More survivability, crit damage makes your multipliers higher. And just whatever else you need, depending on what else is there. But how do you know which ones are popular? The ones that are sold out. So, yeah, with that said, you are probably now, a little bit further ahead, and your gear looks something like this. I would say that thinking about, well, I guess you should have gotten this before, like Sovereign and everything. But this is kind of like if you were grinding for your Fallen God and everything, you probably got the artifacts and lightstones as well. But there's a lot of different combos of crystals and everything. So it's kind of like you probably figured this out. I thought it was obvious, but I'll just talk about it before we go any further. There's a lot of different artifact combos depending on what you do. All-out attack is best overall offensive one. But if you are more geared in doing something specialized in particular, like let's say you're grinding in Kama Sylvia or grinding, demi-humans, you want to specialize into like species damage versus all-out attack. But yeah, it really just depends on what you're doing. If you're PvP, more human damage, obviously. So yeah, there's different artifacts for everything. I think for PvE, you want to get the Kabua, and for where is it? If you're doing anything else, you get the evasion or all DR. These are defensives, but I think these are more skilled or tailored towards PvPers in general. So, yeah, assuming your gear looks more or less similar to this at this point, what you're going to want to do is try to start pushing all your accessories to pen, like all the Deberekas, that is, because Karazad accessories are coming out in the near future. I don't know when either, but kind of like Sovereign weapons where it has 10 upgrade tiers, so do accessories going forward. So if you have a pen Deboreka, you'll be able to get Nav, which is not tier 9, and if you have a TET, it's like tier 5. So I don't know which one is going to be more expensive. Is it going to be cheaper to just buy a pen Deboreka and then convert? Or is it going to be cheaper to, just get a TET and then slam it and hope for pen or, like, guess deck going forward? We don't know that yet. So either way, at least start preparing your Deboreka accessories for now. And whenever that happens, you go from there. But until then, like, the end game goal as of right now is mostly, pen Deberekas and deck Sovereign, which very few people have. I think they actually showed an infograph a while ago of where people are at in terms of Sovereign. And most people are at like pen, so like tier 5. And then less than 5% of people are Oct, which is tier 8. And so yeah, like it's a huge silver sink. Just trust me on that one. And these are literally your endgame goals. So yeah, my goal is to upgrade this one to pen in the future, and then we're just gonna go Oct from there. So it's just how much do you play the game, and then eventually pen Debos or are the next goal to convert to Nav, and that's about it. So with that said, I think I covered all the basics. If there's a few things I missed, it's probably lightstones and artifacts, and Alch stones, which those are kind of like, they go into the thing that I talked about before of get the upgrades, which give you the most stats for the least amount of silver. So it's probably by the time you're converting into Deboreka accessories or Fallen God. So I would say probably around a 260-ish AP zone is when the upgrades, are roughly around the same price. But aside from that, like if you're doing any sort of PvPing, you might want to consider a Nuver as well. That you're going to need both a Blackstar and a Nuver. If you're strictly PvE, Blackstar or Kudum, you're good to go. And yeah, that's about it. So I guess all that's left going forward is sovereign weapons for most people, and then Karazad accessories. And I don't know too much about it until it comes out, but when it does, we'll definitely be covering it. So yeah, I think in the future, I want to do an updated grind spot video, or how to improve your grinding and everything. Like, I have videos of that right now, but I want to make it more updated with like more information that I've learned over the years and all that stuff. So with that said, wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop it in the comments, or you could join the Discord. I try to keep a lot of my guides updated on Discord, so you don't even have to talk to anyone. If you have any questions or gear help, we have channels for that. Or if you just want to watch some of my guides and help for all of that, we have a channel for the guides, so you don't even have to talk to me. So yeah, that's all for me today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Also, before I head out, there's actually something cool I wanted to show you guys. So all the BDO partners who wanted to, they got the new outfit that released today, the Gloamwalker outfit. And I actually thought this one was really cool. It's like the vampire themed Halloween outfit for this year. And so I wanted to show it to you guys, and we all got it for free to showcase it. So I wanted to show you how it dies and what it looks like. So there's a lot of things I want to say about this one as well. Where is it? It is this one. So by default, this is what it looks like. It comes with the hair as well. If you don't like that, just put, you know, the other hair on, and or just turn it off, and this is what your default will look like. But yeah, I thought this one was actually a very good one, and I wanted to show you how it died and like all the colors it goes with. There's one thing about these outfits that I've always given feedback on, which is I wish they were 4 separate pieces versus separate ones. That way they die a little bit differently, and or you can mix and match a little bit better. So by default, this is what it looks like with everything just equipped on. And hold on, it's probably better if I show it to you in, you know, not darkness. And so yeah, let's just show you how it dies and what it looks like. So the best way to do this is probably showing it to you in like one of these 3, because these are like actual daylight settings versus this. So anyway, with that said, the armor one looks like this. I think the colors by default are actually really nice, and you get to do all of them, and I'll show you some of my favorites. So this one, the first one you could change is the shoulder piece, always nice. Personally, you know, if you're going for like a vampire themed, usually black, red, gold, you know, the default, it actually just looks nice. But by default, I noticed that it has a lot of shiny materials, so like the Valencian dye would probably be one of the more cooler ones in my opinion. So like this is actually one of the colors that I use a lot. So the shining yellow or these oranges, and then sometimes like blacks and whites. So I think the shiny feel for this set is actually really nice, especially with the jewelry and everything. So I think the Valencian dyes are pretty cool. Otherwise, the next one is by default the gold chains and everything. Yeah, they just kind of mix and match with everything. So if you're trying to go for like, you know, jewelry and everything, I think the metal feeling or authentic, so with Median or Valencian, are probably the 2 good choices for that. And then the third piece is the cloth for like the glove brace, I guess, and the cloth in the center. So usually it's white, but I think for those, fabric and like, I don't know if a glossy, but authentic fabric and then silky are probably the 2 styles I would use. So nothing like too bright or too metal-y. And so, yeah, I would just pick something that doesn't look, you know, off. So you want to go with like the authentic colors. And then there's pants. Well, I mean, it's most likely going to be white or black if you're going for the whole vampire themed. And then the shirt color, would probably choose like authentic leather because it does kind of look like leather. Or another one of my favorite is the fabric ones because it just looks more natural. And yeah, I think actually a lot of the colors work well. And if you like to customize even further, you can like literally manually color slide it to the exact shade you want. But I think white, black, red, and yellow are probably my favorite colors for that one. So next we have the belt. Belt is belt. Just do whatever. And then the cuffs over here. I think if you're gonna have the theme of like, you know, like gold jewelry or something, you probably want to have these as a bright shiny color as well. So maybe not authentic, but the shiny one as well, like the Valencian, or at least glossy in a way. So it makes it like bolder and it looks nice. Then the inner. Personally, I would just leave this one alone because red just looks nice. Maybe blue, but nothing out of the wild. I think like blue and red. Blue, red, gold, yellow are pretty fancy. And then I'm glad they have two different colors because they had like different shades and where the leather would go for over here. So then there's that. And I think these three are just the back and front of the cape. So you could just pick the colors you want over there, and I think that's pretty fancy. But before we do that, you guys know how I feel about capes in video games, because sometimes they look too stiff, like the Shoe Dad one. That one just feels really weird. Let me show you an example of one that I think is, you know, kind of weird. So this outfit was the Roslyn one, and I like the outfit itself. However, like when you run, the cape looks like it's not natural. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it just looks weird. However, with the Gloamwalker one, when you actually run around, the cape actually feels like it's flowing with the wind, then I guess the best way to describe it is that. And it looks natural. So I actually think they did a really good job just by default colors for everything and with the cape. And if you don't like the cape, you just turn it off and then you can hide the cape and it just looks like that. But I do believe this one actually does look really nice. So if you're picking it up, it's new in the Pearl shop and you can get all of that. So there's actually one that came with a manor pack, which is I think like house furnishings. So yeah, that's cool. And there's one for male, female, and other classes. So I guess if we were to look at that one, I only have one, but they have a picture on the website and the Pearl shop stuff, and I think they actually look good on all classes. And there's one for Shy. It just kind of looks like that, but for a shorter character, like a Shy. But overall, I think it's a good outfit, actually. I think they did a really good job with showcasing, like, everything is dyeable. And yeah, overall, looks good to run with, and overall just a nice design. So yep, the one thing that I think either you'll like or you won't is the helmet piece, and if you don't like it, you could just go back to your default whatever, or you can put on something else you had. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching once again, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.